Hey there, Abby from Abbi Kirsten Collections here, and today we're going to be making these 3D layered paper ornament crafts with our Cricut machine. Okay, first let's talk about supplies for this project. You can use any of the full-size Cricut machines for this project. I'm going to be using the Explorer 3 machine, but the Makers work, this Explorer 2 works. Any of those are going to be fine for you. The only reason I would not suggest the Cricut Joy is because if you take these too small, you could end up getting a lot of tears in your paper because this is considered an intricate cuts project. And with the Joy machine, it has a size limit of like 4 inches wide. And these are about a little over 6. So as far as size goes, you're more than welcome to try it, but I would not recommend it in general. The full size machines are going to work better for you here. Okay, so you're also going to need to have a Cricut mat. You can use the standard green grip mat, or you can use the light grip mat that's the light blue. Either of those are going to work fine. I'm going to be using the light blue mat here. You may want to have a brayer tool on hand. Brayer tools are really helpful for pushing that material to the mat, especially if maybe your mat's a little worn out. This can be very helpful. You may want to have a weeding tool on hand. We're going to be using this to get the backs of our tapes off as we layer our design. A pair of scissors to trim down our tape, our 3D foam tape if we need it. And I'm going to be using 3D foam tape for this. That's what creates the space between these designs and these layers. It adds that really pretty 3D effect. So I like to use 3D foam strip tape. So it comes in these strips like this. And I like this the most because you can kind of mold it to what you're working with and trim it down and really perfect it for these intricate things. They also make dots and squares as well, which can work also. But I do prefer these strips, so that's what you're going to see me use here today. And then I'll be using that pair of scissors to trim things down as needed. I'm also going to be using some holiday baker's twine here. This is just a sort of sparkly silver baker's twine. You could use yours in any color, and that's going to act as our ornament sort of hook and loop so that we can hang it onto our tree or maybe put it on a gift package or something else like that. So I'll be using that as well. And then of course you're going to need cardstock. So you can choose cardstock in metallics, glitters, solids and smoothed, or textures. I've tried it all, mix and match them. It's really fun to mix and match the metallics and the glitters together for a really pretty sparkly effect that's going to look lovely, especially against Christmas lights if you put these onto trees. So just play around and decide what type of textures and colors you want to use for your particular ornaments. You can see some examples here that I've done. As far as paper resources, one of my most favorite paper resources is the 12 by 12 cardstock shop, and they have a beautiful selection of smooth papers, textured papers, glitters, metallics. They have different sizes and weights. They have a lot to choose from. So check them out for your cardstock needs. They're really great. All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick look on a couple things here in Design Space. These are the 5 layered ornament designs that I have. You can get these on members.abbikirstencollections.com. There's lots more details below for you if you want to pick them up for yourself. They make beautiful ornaments and gifts. So all you really need to do for this project is upload the SVG file here into Design Space. I also want to note that there's nothing different that you need to do when you're making these different designs. So what I mean by that is I'm going to be featuring a couple of these designs in this video, but they're all going to be made very much the same way. So there's no need to follow a separate tutorial for each one of these if you choose to make the Nutcracker versus a Christmas tree one. It's all going to come together very much the same way. You'll just follow the layers in the order that you've seen in here in Design Space. So if you're new to Cricut, you'll upload this SVG cut file by going to the upload button on the left-hand side. You click upload image and then you'll browse your computer. You'll want to navigate to wherever you downloaded the files to on your particular device. So I'm just going to choose one of these here just to bring in as an example. So we get a preview of our image here, and then we're going to click upload at the bottom, and then you'll highlight it under recent uploads by selecting it and click add to canvas. And that's it. That's how easy it is to upload these SVG files. Now, they're already scaled to a good size for you. However, you can change the size a little bit if you want. I will say that going much smaller than this may result in issues as far as like how small your Cricut machine can manage to cut some of these intricate details. I'm going to give you some more tips on that, but I recommend not really scaling these down too much more. You can go a little bigger if you want to. That's perfectly fine. But ultimately decide on the size that you want, make sure you bring the files in, and then go ahead and save your project so that you don't have to redo any of those steps in the future. You can just open the project back up and make more of these beautiful ornaments. All right, so since I already have the snowman here, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that guy right there. And then you'll want to click on the Make It button to send this to your Cricut machine. So if you're cutting on one of the newer machines, it may ask you, are you cutting on a mat or without a mat? You'll want to make sure you're cutting on a mat. You'll hit confirm. And then since we already covered what types of papers I use here, you would match that in Design Space with material settings. So if you're using a smooth cardstock or a glitter cardstock or a textured cardstock, you're just going to want to select medium weight or glitter cardstock according to what you're using. So let's go ahead and get this cut out on our Cricut machine. All right, so our design is loaded up. We've prepped everything in Design Space. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my cardstock onto my mat here. So we're just going to line this up right at the top corner. So below I have some additional tips and help for cardstock for intricate cuts because it's easy to run into problems with paper tearing. And I have some bonus tips for you that are going to help you. One thing in general I want you to be aware of is your mat sticky enough and is it clean? If it's not sticky enough and it's not clean enough, that paper is not going to be able to stick in all those right places. So even if it looks like the paper's sticking in general, when it comes to these intricate pieces here, if it's not sticking well in those little spots where those intricate cuts are getting cut out by your Cricut, it's going to lift and that's going to cause tearing. So make sure your mat is clean, fresh, sticky enough, and then it can be very helpful to use a brayer tool to push the material to your mat to really make sure that all those areas are getting stuck to your mat and you don't have little pockets that are lifting here that are going to cause tearing. You also want to make sure that your blade is not too old and that it's clean. Okay, so you may hear that a Cricut blade can be sharpened with tin foil. That is a misconception. It cannot be sharpened. However, it can be cleaned with a ball of tin foil. So if you roll up a ball of tin foil and you shove the blade in and out a few times, it'll clean off anything that's stuck around the blade. It won't sharpen it. So if your blade's really old, you do want to make sure you have a fresh blade before you start working with intricate cuts and cardstock paper. So make sure you're always checking the health of your blade before you start cutting anything with cardstock that might be intricate in nature. You also want to think about your paper type. If you've tried those first two things with the mat and the blade and it's still not working, evaluate your paper. What is the thickness of your paper? Where are you getting it from? You need to try a different paper. That can also be a factor. So let's go ahead and load this up. I'm just going to press my mat under the rollers there and click the double arrow flashing button. All right, so our cut is done. I'm going to press the double arrow flashing button to unload it here. And then when you're peeling off your cardstock, it's always wise, really any material, it's wise to flip the mat over. And then you want to peel the mat away from the material. So I like to keep the mat like this, and then you want to peel it back. You don't want to bend it, but you just want to roll it, a gentle roll. And it keeps your cardstock from curling on you here. So it's a little stuck right there on the edge. All right. Right there. There we go. So there's a look at how we would cut one layer out. You would just repeat this the same way with all of your colors. Whatever color it is you decided, maybe you want to add a green or you want to add a glitter or some other color, whatever other colors you want for the additional sequential layers, you would go ahead and proceed with that cut. I've mixed in some metallics here because I like that sort of shimmer effect and some glitters. So whatever colors you choose, let's go ahead and just cut out the rest of your layers for this design. All right, so we have all of our layers cut out now. And for this one, there is a total of 6 different layers here. If you need help remembering the order of them, just take a look at the file in Design Space. It will have everything stacked in order, and you can make sure you're getting them all in that proper sequential order so your design turns out looking really beautiful. So these two are going to go together first. And I'm going to start by flipping this one over. And we're going to be using that 3D foam strip tape here. And I'm just going to be working several pieces onto our ornament here. You can use the 3D foam dots and squares. I like the strips because I feel like I can mold them a little bit easier. I can trim them down with the sizes that I need, and they just work a little bit better for me personally. But that's totally a personal preference. I'm going to use my scissors here to trim down a smaller piece for the top. And then I'm going to grab my weeding tool, which is very handy for removing those backs. All right, so this one's ready to go. We're going to flip it over and just take a second to align it. I like to start at the top and then give it a good press. All right, so we have that first layer here. You can kind of see in person, you can see more of the metallic shimmer of the little stars coming through there. All right, so this is the next layer we have is our red layer here. And I'm going to go ahead and flip that over. And we'll repeat the process of adding these foam strips. And this craft is really beautiful for like, hanging on your Christmas tree, of course, but you could even get like those ornament holders sort of feature a ornament independently from a Christmas tree as just a standalone decoration. And you could hang one of these on there as well. If you wanted to get really creative, you could even use these as sort of a gift tag for a recipient's gift, and you could write their name on the back, or even have your Cricut write it for you so that you can use it as a gift tag, and then it's a keepsake later on as well. So just a couple other ideas of how you can use these layered paper ornaments. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and align this piece together here. Again, I sort of start at the top looking at that, and then everything else will fall into place there. Give it a good press. Next up, we have our Christmas tree. So I'm going to flip this one over and we're going to start adding again. So your Cricut really does the heavy lifting for you on this. It looks like it's a super complicated craft, but because we're letting the Cricut do all of that intricate cutting and just picking out our different layers and colors of cardstock, it looks like it was this really complicated project, but in reality, it's just some 3D foam strip tape and some paper, and your Cricut does the rest of the work for you, and then you just have to layer it together. So it's definitely one of those wow crafts of, wow, you actually made that. And until people see how it's done, it's surprising how simple it can be. And it's an excellent craft for beginners because paper crafts are one of the easiest things for beginners to get started with. And this also will warm you up, as we discussed, to like cardstock for intricate cuts and things like that. Okay, and before we actually go to add this on, you want to take your independent little tree piece here, and you want to go ahead and add that on. And then you'll want to add just a little bit more of this tape. Right like that. Okay, so now we'll pick this piece up and we'll align it. Again, I like to look at the top first. Okay, there we go. So that next layer is done. We got two more to add, so we're going to take this one next. And then you'll also notice this little cutout, which goes behind the little toys here at the bottom of the tree. So I've added my tape here again. Go ahead and line this up. All right, and now I'm just going to add another piece of tape right there. And now it's time to line this up. And give everything there a nice good press. I'm starting to see those really pretty layers coming alive there. We got one last layer to add. And so this one we just need to go around with the foam strip tape here. There's nothing additional. There's no additional sub layers. So we'll just go around one more time. All right, so this is our last layer to add here. Get that lined up and give everything one final good press to get all those layers together there. All right, so our ornament is essentially done. You can see all of those really pretty layers. And now all you need to do is add some string. So this is just some silver baker's twine here. And I like to cut off about, maybe a 12 to 14 inch piece. It's always better to have more than less because you can trim down. And then I'll bring the two ends together and I'll tie a little knot. And then I'll go ahead and trim down those extra tails there. So I'll take the loop side and I'll feed it through the front. And then I take the loop side here and I thread it through and pull so that we have this nice, clean looking little loop to hang on. You can make this shorter or longer depending on what you want to do there. Maybe if you're using it for a gift tag, it would be longer, but for a tree, maybe you make it a little shorter. You could also just put like a hook on it if you were actually putting this directly on a tree. And that's it. Our beautiful ornament is complete. Let me give you a close-up of all these pretty layers here. So here's a close-up at all of those pretty sparkly layers. Looks so nice. I absolutely love this craft. And like I said, you could use this for lots of different things. Display the ornament by itself, put it on a Christmas tree, add it as a gift tag to a gift, and it can be a beautiful keepsake. And if you mix those solids, metallics, and glitters, it just really makes it come to life that much more. Of course, here's a look at another one of our designs. Like I said before, you would cut all of the layers out and then you would just layer them in sequential order. So it's a very easy craft to do, no matter which one of the designs you opted to create, or if you're doing all of them, they all come together very much the same way. And they don't take that long to make. They just take a little time to let your machine cut them out, and the assembly is quite simple. So there is a total of 5 of these designs that you can enjoy. They are a part of the Abbi Kirsten Collections Premium Craft Member Vault, and all that information is available below for you as well, so you can download them and enjoy them. If you need more help learning where I get all of my resources, my supplies, my favorite cardstock brands, all of that good stuff, again, there is a blog post linked below for you. It has all of that information in it. That way you can follow along and find out exactly where I get all of my supplies. Many of them are online resources, so it's super easy to just stock up during the holidays. So as you can see with our little gnome Santa here, very similar to how we did the Christmas tree, all comes together quite similar. All right, so here is a look at the other designs I also have of this 3D paper ornament craft. So we have a snowman. He has sort of a Christmas gnome slash Santa Claus, I guess you could call him. We have a nutcracker, and then of course our Christmas tree. You can find all of these designs linked below for you. There's a blog post that goes with this that will cover our supply lists, the paper I used here, all of the details you need to know to make these ornaments for yourself, and you can grab these templates that I have featured here today on members.abbikirstencollections.com. I hope to see you there. I hope you enjoyed this craft. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.